this situation. My mind was foggy from the alcohol, my body sluggish, but the sheer horror of what I was seeing jolted me awake like a bucket of ice water. Sophie and Nick, my wife and my best friend, stood frozen, caught in the act like deer in headlights. The room, which just moments ago had been filled with laughter and the hum of a normal evening, now felt suffocating. Nick was the first to react, stammering some half-baked excuse while scrambling to pull his clothes back together. Sophie, wide-eyed and pale, looked like she wanted to sink into the floor. But I didn't need explanations. The evidence was right in front of me. The weight of betrayal pressed down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I tried to stand, but my legs wobbled beneath me. The alcohol was still in my system, making it impossible to react the way I wanted to. Fury, heartbreak, disbelief, they all clashed inside me, leaving me speechless. How long? I finally managed to croak out, my voice hoarse, unfamiliar. Sophie opened her mouth, but no words came. She glanced at Nick, and that tiny movement made my stomach churn. That glance told me everything. This wasn't a drunken mistake. This had been happening. For how long? Weeks? Months? Years? Nick swallowed hard. Ethan, man, listen. I lunged at him, but my sluggish movements made it easy for him to step back. My fists clenched at my sides, shaking. I had never felt rage like this before. I wanted to hurt him. I wanted to make them both feel even a fraction of the pain tearing through me. But instead, I just stood there, fists trembling, breath ragged. Sophie finally found her voice. Ethan, please, Shut up, I snapped, and she flinched. I had never spoken to her like that before, but she had never done this to me before. My gaze darted to the dining table, the same table where we had shared meals, where our kids had sat, where we had laughed and lived as a family. And now it was just another crime scene. A sickening realization washed over me. If she had been lying about this, what else had she been lying about? My mind reeled back to our children. Are they even mine? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Sophie's face drained of color. That was all the answer I needed. Here's the rewritten version with originality, improved flow, and no repeated wordings. Retribution. In that moment, instincts took over. I grabbed Sophie, yanked open the nearest window, and shoved her outside onto the very flower bed she had spent so much time tending. Judging by her scream, the landing wasn't as soft as she had hoped. Then I turned to Nick. One solid punch, just one, and he was out before he could even defend himself. Honestly, I wished he had put up more of a fight. I had too much rage to burn off, and he dropped too fast for me to fully vent it. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Still seething, I decided to make things even worse for him. I kept a first aid kit in the kitchen, and inside was a bottle of ammonia. Just to be sure, I took a whiff myself, strong enough to make my eyes sting. Perfect. I poured some onto a rag and slammed it over Nick's face. The reaction was instant. He jolted awake, gasping, thrashing, ripping the rag off like he'd been set on fire. Get up, I ordered. The next round wasn't even a fight. He didn't land a single hit. I just kept throwing punches until I saw enough blood to feel like I had made my point. I was exhausted, still drunk, and definitely not a trained fighter, but fury kept me moving. When I finally stepped back, he was a mess, bruised, bloodied, barely able to keep himself upright. Then came the part that hurt more than the physical blows. How long? I asked, my voice raw. Nick coughed, spitting blood before muttering the truth. He and Sophie had history since college, in fact. What I thought was my marriage had been nothing but a sham. They had been sneaking around long before I came into the picture, continuing their affair even after she became my wife. I had spent years unknowingly playing the fool, drinking myself into unconsciousness while they took advantage of every opportunity to betray me. And then the worst realization hit me. The kids. After the chaos settled, I confronted Sophie. I demanded DNA tests. The results shattered me. Not one, but both children weren't mine. And to twist the knife even deeper, both Sophie and Nick had known all along. Nick, for all his arrogance, had never settled down. He had been dating someone, though, his fiancée. They were only weeks away from tying the knot, so I made sure to change that. I found her number, laid out the whole ugly truth, and watched as their relationship exploded. No wedding, no happily ever after, just wreckage, like what they had done to me. As for Sophie, I wanted her out. I gave her one option: pack up and leave. No claims to my house, no demands for money. She lost everything that day. But as much as I wanted to cut her out completely, I couldn't bring myself to do the same with the kids. Sure, they weren't mine biologically, but I had raised them. My love for them didn't just vanish. So I offered child support on one condition: I still got to be in their lives. Sophie, who had never held a real job, quickly agreed. Luckily, she never tried to use them as leverage. To this day, they have no idea I'm not their biological father. I realized I still wanted a family, just not with her. I kept my home, built a new life, and after a couple of years, met someone incredible. She's 3 years younger than me, and after everything, she made me believe in love again. We got married, and now we're planning to start a family of our own. Sophie? She's struggling, living in a cramped rental, regretting every choice she made. And Nick? He's alone. I half expected them to end it together. But I guess their affair was just a twisted game, a thrill they enjoyed in secrecy. When exposed to reality, it crumbled. I won't pretend it was easy to move on. Trusting again after that level of betrayal felt impossible. But I refused to let their mistakes poison my future. My new wife didn't do this to me. She deserves a fair chance. And as long as she stays true, I'll give her one. The past may haunt me, but it won't define me. I choose to move forward.